Yeah. Hi all. So today's topic is about conditional statements. So before starting that, let's recall what all we have learned till now. Let's say we have learned data types, type conversion, type promotion, and then later at the last class we had learned about operators. Inside operators, we had learned again 4 to 5 types of its classification, like arithmetic, comparison, logical, okay, bitwise, and all those things. There were two things that is pending. That is in arithmetic, there was one ternary operator and the bitwise operator. Okay, so bitwise is still for like in future classes, but the ternary operator that we'll be discussing today because that's one of the conditional statement itself. So let's proceed with our today's topic. Just writing the heading as conditional statement. Conditional statements. Okay, so the first one and the mostly used statement is if-else statement. Okay, if-else statement, and an addition for this would be also else if. So I'm just writing it in bracket here. Okay, it's just an addition of this. Then the second one would be the switch statement, and the third one would be the ternary operator. Ternary operator. Okay, so these are the three types of statements which will help us to do the come up with a conditional. Now, what is actually a conditional statement? Like, what do they actually give? So let's say if you have bunch of codes and you want to run it on a particular condition itself. Okay, so like a common example, you just ask your friend, where are you? And if he replies he's in office, then you give him a task like do the work properly, do the work, something like that. If he replies he's in home, then you say come to party. If he replies he's in library, you say okay, study well. So based on the condition where he is, you are replying something, you are doing something, right? So similarly in Java, based on the condition, here we'll be navigating the code to whatever we want, okay, based on the condition. So let's discuss the first one, that is if else. So for that, I'm going to write it just here, if else. So the syntax for this would be, you have to first write the if, okay, and whatever is the condition that you have to write in the parenthesis. So here it will be condition, and then after the condition, whatever, if this condition is true, if this condition, and for how will we check? We just not like we checked it in last class, right? With the help of operators. Which operators? Comparison operators, greater than, less than, double, equal to. So those all operators, logical operators, will help us to check what condition it is, right? To come up with the condition. And so if this condition is getting true, what we'll do, whatever is the code present in this, inside this curly parenthesis, execute that. Okay, that is the first thing. Or else, whatever is in the second bracket, that is in this bracket, execute that. This is the simple meaning of if. So what will happen? So it will come here, it will check the condition. Now let's, the condition is the same thing what we discussed. We'll ask our friend, so we'll store the data in somewhere like this, string, place, we'll say it as place, and we'll ask here, scanner input will ask for the user where he is. In case if we replied, let's say office, what we need to display on the screen, we'll display here, do work properly, something like that. Or else we can say, come to the party. So let's try to code it first and check it. So I'll simply say, first of all, I have to take the input, right? So or instead of taking the input, what I'll do, I'll just create the variable directly, string, let's say place equal to, and we are asking where he is. So he'll reply, let's say he's in office. Okay. Now, if this is correct, okay, so now here I'll write the condition. If place equal to, let's say office, I have to give the parentheses as well as quotation mark, office. Okay, so I'll just give this parenthesis, And then if the place is equal to office, then whatever is there in this flower bracket, execute that. So what we'll write here? South, do work. Okay, clear. And else if is not in office, what we'll do? We'll say South, let's party. Something like that. Okay, so this can be taken as an input. Okay, and then whatever is the data stored here, based on that, we are checking the condition. Now, which will run? It will run the, I should make smaller. It will run the do work. So let's check it. So if you see here at the bottom, what is displayed? It's displayed as do work. Okay, and if in case I just remove anything, like if I just say home, I put here home. So obviously the place home is not equal like office, then obviously what should be executed? Let's party. And if I check it, if you see, let's party is being displayed. Okay, so what we are doing, we are just navigating our code. Like if based on the condition, we are telling which code should be run. Okay. Now let's imagine like we have multiple condition. Now we also want like to check if he is particularly in library. If he is in library, then what we want? We'll tell him to study. Okay, so if we have like multiple condition that like more than two, then there is the use of this else if. Okay, then we can use this else if. How can we else if use? Like the syntax is similar to the if statement, but just that we are giving an extra else if. So let's do it here and check how it is. So and it will always, so if is always at the beginning, if is always at the beginning, else is always at the last, and there can be multiple else if, whereas if can be once, else can be once. Okay, and for else there is no condition. For if and else if, we have to give the conditions. Clear? So we have already written if, we have already written else. Now we need to write else if in between them. So let me just take it here. I'll click enter. And here I'll write the else if condition. Else if place, let's say equal to where is in library. Okay, I have to give this in a parenthesis. And after giving it in parenthesis, I have to say the curly brackets. What I'll do? South. What I'll say? Study hard. Study hard. Okay, I'll remove unwanted this. Okay. This looks good, like instead of next line, so I always prefer to write it in this way. So if you see, now if I mention here library, okay, and if so we have to also make sure these are matching correctly, the capital letter and all, because it's a case sensitive language. So if I run it, so now you see study hard has been displayed. Why? So library has been stored in place. It checks like is library equal to office? No, this is not. Then it comes to the else if condition, and here it checks, oh, library is equal to library. Then this condition is true. As soon as this condition is true, it goes to this work. It executes whatever is there inside this bracket. Clear? Okay, so I hope this part is clear, whatever we discussed right now. And just one more thing is that we can have multiple else if condition. There is no limitation for that. Just there is a limitation that we can use only once if and once else for the particular scenario. Okay, what do I, okay, I hope you have got, but okay, yes. So when I meant by a particular situation, what I actually meant is that few people at the beginning stage, like again, these are the common doubts. What will happen is you will use it like this. If you will put the condition and you will give some states here. And again, you will use the if here. And in actual sense, it will work. And then your doubt will be, so it's actually working. Like how can you say like we can use only if once? The thing here is that if you use like this, if you have the if here also and if here also, it's obviously going to work. The condition is going to check. But the thing is that even if this condition is true, okay, and even if whatever you have mentioned inside this parenthesis, even if like curly parenthesis gets executed, it is still going to check this condition also. Okay, so it is going to check both the condition when you give if. So it's like this scenario is different and this scenario is different. But when you give else if, it's like if this condition got executed, it is not going to check any of this. Okay. Or in case if this condition got, it's not going to execute any of the below. Okay, so there is a difference between just writing if like this, if, and writing if and else if. Okay, so I hope you are clear with this concept. Now let's go with the next concept, that is ternary operator. Okay, so let me have it here. Okay, did I mess it too much? Okay, let me clear this one. Okay, so for let me just clear this everything and let me write once again. For ternary operator, the syntax again is same. Let's go inside. Okay, so for ternary operator, the syntax is again same. So this is nothing but, in short, we can say you are writing a if-else condition in single line. That is possible with the ternary operator. How? Let's say you are creating a variable and its variable data type you have to mention here. Data type, I'll say data type. Okay, equal to, here you are giving the condition. Okay, in case if this condition is true, you are checking it with the help of question mark, like it is asking if it is if this condition is true. And in case if it is true, then what will happen? Here, whatever you will mention it as statement 1, this will be stored in this variable. If this condition is false, then whatever is after this colon marks, that is stored statement 2, and that will be stored here. Okay, so the key thing here is that statement 2 is like a false for this, and statement 1 is like a true. So what false true? Based on your condition. If this is false or if this is true, whatever it is, based on that, if it is true, it will return this, store this in this variable, or if it is false, it will store statement 2 in the variable. Clear? So we'll try to do the same thing with the help of ternary operator. And one thing in ternary operator is that if you see, we can just check two possible things. We can't check more than that. Okay, it will get complex if we start doing that. So let me just comment how many part, like this much. I'll comment this. And here, next what I'm going to write, I'm going to write the ternary operator now. So what type of data I'll have is, let's say, string again. String equal to, let's say, work action, I can say. That would be a good justification. Action equal to, now what is the condition? The condition is that place, whatever is my place, Control C, I'll give parenthesis, place equal to, let's say if this is office. Okay, if this condition is getting true, I'm going to first check it with the help of question mark. If this condition is getting true, what I will say? I'll say do work. So I'll copy this from here and I'll give here do work. Or else I'm giving a colon and I'm saying if the condition is not getting true, then I'll say let's party. And I'll give a semicolon at the last. And after doing this much, I'll simply say south. I'll simply print action. Okay, so if you see, whatever the statement now, like let me remove this much part. Okay, so whatever we have written in this much code, that is just doable in just one line of thing. Okay, and if I run it now, so if you see, let's party. Why let's party? Okay, it's because in place it is library. So if I change here, office, Now the office, this condition will be true. Now do work will be saved in action, and action should be displayed here. So here do work should be displayed. Okay. So let me just do here and run this. So if you see, do work is displayed. Clear? So I hope ternary operator is also clear now. Let me do Control Z. So I have the entire code present now. So let me comment the ternary code also. And now we have our last thing, that is a switch statement. Okay. So how does switch statement work? Switch statement does not support the true or false boolean operators. Like here, it will just check if the value is same in a variable. Okay, so here you can't give a condition, but you can check if the value inside a variable. For example, now for the same thing place, I'll say switch the variable name we have to give here, variable name. Okay, then we have to start our curly brackets, and here we have to end it. And switch is used for like if we have multiple statements and all, like to check in a present variable, like if there are multiple data, then what I can say, case one. In case one, I can say if my variable name, or I can simply search it. Case one, if this is the thing, I can say execute this part. Okay. Then I can say case two. If this is the thing, execute this part. Or else similarly, how many cases I want, I can give that many. And at last, I can say if none of the execute, it's similar to else, like default, execute this part. Okay. Now, what is this? How it is comparing? So this is nothing but variable name. Inside the variable name, inside this variable name, if one is stored, okay, then execute this. Or inside the variable name, if two is stored, then execute this. Or if none of them are stored, then by default, execute this. Similarly, how you say here, if none of these execute, else means by default, execute let's party. Clear? So let's try to do the same thing here again. So I'll write it here. Now, what is my variable here? Place. So I'll say switch parenthesis, I'll say place. Okay. And in curly brackets, I'll say next. Now case one, what will be my case one? Here I'll be say office. So in case if it is office, then what I'll say? I'll say south. So what I'll say? Do work. Control C. Do work. Clear? Now, what will be my case two? Case two. Case two is nothing but library. So for library, what I'm saying, I can give it here library. I can end the colon, and here I can say south. What I can say, study hard. I don't have copied it here directly. Or else, if both the cases are not satisfied, I'll say by default, what should be executed by default? This statement. Okay, so if we see, okay, clear? And let's check it. So presently it is library. So we are expecting study hard to be displayed. But let's see if it just displays study hard or it also displays something else with it. So if I run it, so let's party is displayed, but just I expanded it. So, and I scroll down. Why? If I run it once again. Okay, if you see, study hard and let's party, both have been displayed. Now, why both displayed? In switch, whenever a condition is being hit, like let's say if this condition is true now, and once this is printed, everything below it will also be executed. Okay, so now what happened is that here I said place is what? Library. So now when it comes here, now place is what? Library. So this condition is getting true. So it will, below this, whatever is the work, everything will be done. So study hard, it will do. Then afterward, let's party is there, that also it will do. Okay, so to stop this, what we'll do, we'll use the statement named as break. Okay, so this is used to stop or to come out from switch. Okay, so let's clear all the stuff and write the break statement now. I will write here break. I will just copy the same thing. Control C, Control V. For default, I can just ignore because this is the last statement, or if you want, you can still give, but it doesn't make any sense. And if I run it, so you see now study hard is only displayed. Why only study hard? Because our library is being correct. So both the data are correct. Okay, so we just discussed what? We discussed our if-else statement with else-if also. So these three blocks, else-if blocks can be multiple times we can use it. Then apart from that, we also discussed the ternary operator. How the ternary operator actually works. We have the question mark and colon. Okay, so these are the like important things. So before we say variable name, then we check the condition with the question mark, and then true or false values are like stored here. Like if it is true, do work. If it is false, then the second statement will be executed. Okay, so this was the one thing, and we have a switch state. Clear? Now quickly let's do a few exercises. So the first one is we'll try to find out odd or even. Okay, for that I'll again take an number from the user. Let's say int a equal to, I have taken the input as 8. Okay, so first of all, to write it with if statement, what I can do is if a modulus of 2 equal to 0. If this condition is true, what I'm saying, south even. So we have already discussed modulus, and this explanation was done in previous class. So this is nothing but when we divide by any number by 2, if we get the remainder as 0, we'll say it is a even number, right? We discussed it in last class. So if this condition is getting true, what it will display? It is a even, or else what we can say? Else south. What I can print? What is the odd? Okay, so if I run it, so you see even is being displayed. Why? There is a 8. If I remove this and put 9 something here and run it, so if you see, it's odd. Okay, the same thing how we can write it with the this ternary operator, because ternary operator is suitable here. Why? Because there is just 2 conditions, so it can be also written with the help of ternary operator. So here I have to store which type of data? Odd and even. These are string data, so I have to simply like have the data type as string. Then I have to store the value, so I can say answer. Then I'll say equal to. Then I have to check the basically the same condition, so I'm just copying it from here. Control C. I'm giving it here, and if this I'm putting question mark so that it will check if this condition is true. In case if this condition is true, what I'll do is if it is true, I'll say print even, like not print even, store the even in answer. Okay, if it is not true, then store odd in the answer. Okay, and the statement, and at last I'll just do south. And what I'll print is what I'll print. I have to print answer. Okay, and if I do this much and run, I will get an error because if I see, I just saw it's a red line. So we just commented one unwanted this. So I'll just shift it down. Okay, now there won't be any error. Okay, we have odd. Why? Because it is 9. And when it checks, this is not equal to 0. It's 1 and 0. So obviously when it is false, this is being stored in answer and the answer is displayed. If I put this even, let's say 102, which is obviously an even. So if you see, even is being stored. Okay. So this is the two things we have done. Now, can you try it with switch? No, it will be hard because here what we are doing, here we are putting the condition, right? We are not checking what value of data is present inside this. So for with switch, it will be like again a bit of complex thing again, and not preferable also. Okay, because this is what we are doing here is we are trying to identify the conditions. Like we are putting a condition. We are not trying to check what type of data is inside that. Like, okay. Okay, if you still didn't get, let me put that and show you error, like what error will get. Switch, if I try to put a modulus of 2 here, I'll get an error saying that boolean type is not supported. So if you see here, cannot switch on a value of type boolean. Okay, only convertible int value strings or enum variables are permitted. Okay, so this is not possible. Okay, so I'll remove this thing. And let's quickly do one more problem, the last and final problem. That is what? Comparing the three numbers, I will guess. So this will do it with the if statement only. So let's have first three numbers. Tab. So I'll say int a equal to, let's say, 5. And then I'll duplicate this. I'll change the value as b. I'll change the value as c. Here I'll make it as 15. Here I'll make it as 51. Okay. And now I'll check. So in last class we discussed, right, when we discussed like learning comparison operator, that we can put two values simultaneously. Sorry, the logical operator. Okay, we'll just use the logical operator now. So here what I'll say, if a greater than b, okay, and a also greater than c. So if this condition is true, what you do, print, that is nothing but south. What you can say is a is greater. Okay. What's the error now? Okay, everything is cool, right? Okay. Now, else what we'll say? Else if I'll just copy the same thing here, Control C, else if Control V, and here I can say if B is greater than A and B is also greater than C, then what you do? So B is greater. Control C, Control V, B is greater. Oh shit. Delete B is greater. And in case if both of the condition are not being executed, then what you do? Simply print. Control del. Simply print what? Who is the greatest? C is the greatest. C is greater. Okay. So by default, we know that the answer should be C. Let's run it. If it gives 51, yes. If you see 51 is greater. Okay. Clear? So yeah, that's it for today's class. So we just discussed about the conditional statement. In that we discussed three ways how we can use the conditional, that is if else, else if block, and then with the help of ternary operator. And at last we also discussed the switch statements. Okay, clear. So yeah, that's it for today's class. Meet you in next class. Bye.